Namaste and a very good evening to all of you. I welcome you to my channel, The Outlier. My name is Mithun. In today's video, I'll be talking about how to create a ribbon chart using Power BI Desktop. Even before I proceed to demonstrate how to create a ribbon chart using Power BI Desktop, my request you to subscribe to my channel, also like and share my videos. Let me begin by introducing to you the data set that I'll be working on to create a ribbon chart. The data set is sample superstore data set. I've used this particular file for other charts as well. So perhaps you would be already familiar with this data set. Let me introduce you to some of the variables that are present in this data set. You have customer transaction details in this particular file. Some of the important variables are row ID, order date, ship date, ship mode, customer ID, customer name, segment, country, city. If I scroll to the extreme right side, you have four numeric variables. The first is sales, second variable is quantity, third variable would be discount, and the fourth variable would be profit. I will be working on the variable sales to create a ribbon chart. What is the sample size in this particular data set? To check the sample size, let me go to the last row. You can see here 9,994. So this is a healthy sample size for us to do any analysis. Even before I proceed to Power BI, let's begin by asking a simple question as to what exactly is a ribbon chart and why do we need a ribbon chart? A ribbon chart is just like a Sankey chart or a stacked bar chart. A ribbon chart can quickly identify which categorical data has the highest rank. A ribbon chart are effective at showing rank change with the highest value always displayed on top for each time period. With this background, let's proceed to create a simple ribbon chart in Power BI. As you can see, this is the interface of Power BI that I'll be working on. In this particular interface, you can see three panes to the extreme right side. The first one is the filters pane. The second is the visualizations pane. And the third pane here is the fields pane. I've already loaded the sample superstore data set in Power BI. Let me go ahead and expand the field section. Here you can see the orders file. Let me go ahead and expand this particular data set. You can see here some of the variables that are present, which we saw in the spreadsheet. To create a ribbon chart, let me go ahead and expand the visualization section. In the visualization section, you'll see 30 plus icons that are present. In the second row, the last option is ribbon chart. When I hover the mouse on the last option, you can see here Power BI describes that this is a ribbon chart. Let me go ahead and click on ribbon chart. You can see here the layout of the ribbon chart appears in the report canvas. Right now, I'm going to expand the ribbon chart. As you can see here, there is a movement of some of the shades here. This gives you some kind of a perspective as to how a ribbon chart would appear. So far, I have not selected any variables and therefore we have not created a ribbon chart. Now, to create a ribbon chart, there are certain important conditions. Typically, the x-axis will have a time variable. You can use day, month, quarter, or yearly information. Any of these date variables can be used along the x-axis. Now, let me expand the variable order date. You can see here date hierarchies. I'll further expand date hierarchies. You can see here there are different options for date. One is year, second quarter, third month, and the fourth is day. you can use any of these date fields to create a ribbon chart. Let's study the properties of a ribbon chart. You have x-axis and then you have y-axis. You also have the legend. Further, you have small multiples, tooltips, and drill through option. We would need only 2 or 3 properties as far as creating a ribbon chart is concerned. In the x-axis, I will drag and drop a date field. I'll be using the variable year along the x-axis. So far, it is not displaying anything. That is because we have not specified any variable along the y-axis. Now, as you can see here, the y-axis is right here. I have to specify a field along the y-axis. You can use any of the scale variables to describe the y-axis. I'll be choosing the variable sales along the y-axis. As you can see here, the default statistic is sum. You can change it to average or count. I'll go with the default option of sum. Let me expand this particular graph by taking this in the focus mode. What you're seeing right now is a simple column chart. This is not exactly a ribbon chart. You can see here the sales for the 4 years, namely 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017. How can we interpret this particular column chart? What we can say about this particular column chart is that the year 2017 has been the best year for sales, and the year 2015 has been the worst year as far as sales is concerned. Now, ribbon chart refuses to produce a ribbon chart unless you specify a variable along the legend. Let me scroll down. You can see here the legend section is empty. Unless you specify any categorical variable along the legend, the column chart which is present in your screen will not be converted into a ribbon chart. To specify a legend variable, we can use any of the categorical variables. I'll choose the variable region as it's easy to understand with respect to region. Let me remove the visualization section now. What you're seeing here is slightly complex to understand in the beginning. There are 4 different colors here. Let's look at the legend section. The light blue color represents central region. The purple color here represents the western region. For the year 2014, you can see here the purple box is right at the top. What does this mean? This simply means that the purple color, which represents the western region, was the topmost position. It had the topmost position for sales. So western region accounted for the highest sales as far as the year 2014 is concerned. At the bottommost part, what you see is light blue color. Now this is for central region. This simply means that central region was in position number 4, or it was in the last position for sales. It made the lowest sales for the year 2014. So the western region made the highest sales, central region made the lowest sales in the year 2014. In other words, I can say a ribbon chart gives you the ranking. It arranges the categories of a categorical variable based on the ranking. So whichever color appears right at the top, that is the one which has the topmost position, and whichever color appears at the bottommost position has the lowest value. In this case, it has the lowest value of sales. Let's trace the pattern of the western region. If you look at the year 2014, it is in the second position. What does this mean? It simply means that the western region has slipped from the topmost position in the year 2014 to the second position in the year 2015. In the next 2 years, namely 2016 and 2017, it has again climbed up. So this is a very interesting pattern as far as the sales of the Western region is concerned. In the year 2014, it was in the topmost position. It slipped to the second position. And for the next 2 years, that is 2016 and 2017, it again accounted for the highest value of sales. Now, let's look at the blue region. This blue region, if you have the mouse on top of the blue region, it shows is the Eastern region. For the year 2014, the Eastern region was in position number 2. It was in the second position for sales. This has climbed up to the first position in the year 2015. Further, for the year 2016 and 2017, its sales has dipped, and therefore it is appearing in the second position. When you look at the orange color represents the southern region. It's in the third position for the year 2014. From the third position, it has slipped to the last position for the year 2015, and its trend continues for 2016 as well as 2017. This simply means that the sales for southern region has consistently been in the last position from 2015 onwards. When you look at the last of the regions, namely the central region, for 2014, it was in the last position, but for 2015, it has improved its position relatively. It has gone to the third position. For 2016, again, it's in the third position, and 2017, it has maintained the third position. So this is how a ribbon chart is very, very useful. This is just like a column chart, except for the fact that it also gives you the ranking. The simple thumb rule here is always the x-axis should have a time variable. It is best to build a ribbon chart, to create a ribbon chart with the x-axis representing time. And you can choose any categorical variable which has categories. What the ribbon chart does is it gives the relative ranking or the relative position based on a scale variable. Further, if you want to format this particular graph, what you can do is you can go to the visualization pane. Here you have different options. I'll choose the option format your visual. There are different items here. As you can see here, you have x-axis, legend, grid lines, zoom slider, ribbons, and data labels. Right now, the data labels has been turned off. Let me go ahead and turn this on. Now, once I turn this on, you can see here the value of sales for each of the 4 colors or for each of the 4 regions appears. Now, this is in decimals. You can see here 0.15 million. That is the sales in the Western region. If you look at the Eastern region, it is lesser as compared to the Western region. The sales in the Eastern region is 0.13 million. Therefore, it is the second position. Further, if you look at the Southern region, it is 0.10 million. And when you look at the sales for the Central region, it's again 0.10 million. So more or less, it's in the descending order. So this is how a ribbon chart is very, very useful. You may be interested in answering additional questions. Many times when you show a chart to the client, there are a lot of questions that you can expect. One possible question is that we can clearly see that the Eastern region has made the highest sales. It is in the top position for the year 2014. However, it has slipped to the second position for the year 2015. The question that the client may ask you is, why is that the sales has decreased for the Eastern region? My apologies, this is for the Western region. The purple color represents the Western region. So why is there a decrease in the sales for the Western region in the year 2015 as compared to 2014. Similarly, the client may ask the second question. We see that there's an improvement in the sales for the eastern region from 2014 to 2015. Which factor is responsible for the increase in sales for the eastern region? There are a whole lot of questions that might pop up in the mind of the client when he looks at this particular graph. Let's try and answer some of these questions. I'll be particularly interested in the decrease in sales for the western region. The purple color represents the western region. Why is there a dip? Why is there a decline in sales for the year 2015? Now, if you were to do this, if you were to do a deep dive and try to find out the reasons as to why there is a decline in sales for the year 2015 for western region, you will perhaps take 2 or 3 days, because you have to go back to the raw data, you have to clean the raw data, apply pivot table for multiple factors, then brainstorm, and then arrive at the right conclusion. You will see here how easy it is to answer some of these questions using Power BI. All that I need to do is select this purple region, because this is the object of interest. Let me right click, and here there's an option which is called as Analyze. So we are putting the ball back in the court. We are putting the ball in the court of Power BI, and we are asking a simple question from Power BI. What we are asking Power BI is, you do a deep dive analysis and try and explain the decrease for me, right? So you can see here under Analyze, there's an option which is called as Explain the decrease. I'm just going to go ahead and click on this option, Explain the decrease. It takes a couple of moments for Power BI to run the analysis. You can see here, Power BI comes up with a lot of insights. Perhaps you would have taken, as I said, 3 days or 4 days to generate these charts and arrive at the right insights. Right at the top, it says, here's the analysis of the 5% decrease in the total sales between 2014 West and 2015 East. So there's a 5% decrease. So it's trying to explain what are the reasons. Sum of sales by year and region. Sum of sales by year and region. We have already taken this. Now it is also including product ID. So one of the reasons that Power BI says as to why there's a decrease in sales is because of product ID. It goes on to give a short description. Product ID may be very granular, and therefore I'll just ignore this particular chart. You can look at product name if you want to. The second reason as to why Power BI thinks the sales for the Western region has come down is because of product name. Again, this becomes quite granular and difficult to understand, and therefore I'll ignore this. The third chart is interesting because here Power BI has found that in some of the cities, there is a decrease in sales. This chart would be very, very useful. Let's look at what Power BI tells us about this particular factor. Power BI says San Francisco, Fresno, and Burbank had the largest decrease among cities. So out of all the cities in the United States of America, there are 3 cities, namely San Francisco, Fresno, and Burbank, that had the largest decrease in sales among cities, offsetting the increase of Los Angeles. The relative contributions made by San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego changed the most. So according to Power BI, there are 3 cities which saw a decline in sales, which translated into decrease in sales for the year 2015. Which are these cities? You can see the graphical display of this. What you saw earlier was the summary description. I'd like to draw your attention to the legend, which is shown in red. The bars which are shown in red represent the decrease in sales, and the bars which are shown in green are the ones which are responsible for the increase in sales. So you can clearly see here, Burbank, there's a red color bar. This city has seen $3,000 decrease in sales. And for Fresno, the decrease in sale is to the extent of 5,000. And further for San Francisco, 16,000 decrease in sales is seen. So San Francisco is the place which saw the highest decline in sales. So if you look at the total value of sales, 16 plus 5 is 21, 21 plus 3 is 24,000. Roughly $24,000 of decline can be attributed to these three cities. If you look at some of the green color bars, the green color bars represent the increase in sales. This is mainly seen in cities like Los Angeles and San Diego. So city is a good reason, it's a good factor which contributes to the overall decrease in sales in the year 2015. Let me scroll further down. You can see here total sales by year and region and subcategory. In the x-axis, you can see the different subcategories. What does Power BI say? Power BI has identified phones and binders as the two main reasons as to why there has been a decline in sales. Power BI says phones and binders accounted for the majority of the decrease among subcategory. So phones and binders accounted for the majority of the decrease among subcategory, offsetting the increase of machines. The relative contributions made by phones, supplies, and binders change the most. As you can see here, the red color bars are eye-catching. These are the categories which are responsible for the decrease. You can clearly see supplies, binders, and phones. 11,000. So it's minus 11,000, minus indicating that there's a decrease, minus 9,000 and minus 9,000 again. 11 plus 9 would be 20. 20 plus 9 is 29. So roughly supplies, binders, and phones, amongst these subcategories, we saw a $29,000 of decrease. If you connect the dots with the earlier graph, you can see here, Burbank, Fresno, and San Francisco, these are the three cities where we saw a dip, where we saw a decline. And further, we can also look at the subcategory of products like supplies, binders, and phones. We perhaps might like to take a simple pivot table or a cross tabulation between cities and subcategory to further see in each of the cities what was the level of decline in supplies, binders, and phones. Let's keep this conversation going. You can look at the next reason. It says order ID. Order ID is very granular, so I'll ignore this particular variable. Though Power BI gives a lot of factors, we don't have to actually look at every graph and take it seriously. At the end of the day, this is just a software and it has made a few suggestions. We can go through each and every graph and cherry pick only those graphs which are actually making business sense. Those graphs which are very granular or those graphs which do not make much of business sense, we can put it in the back burner. Again, you have another variable, sum of sales by year, region, and customer name. Here, Power BI is pointing out to customers who were responsible for the decline in sales. Well, sales is a very, very large metric, and you cannot perhaps identify the decrease in sales to one or two customers. We can definitely look at some of the customers who bought less. The first person is Ken, second person is Nora, and the third person is Brosina Hoffman. These three people, these three customers had the largest decrease amongst customers, offsetting the increase of Fred Hopkins. The relative contributions made by Ken, Fred, and Nora change the most. You can see here, there are two red color bars for one is Gary and the second one is Brosina Hoffman. Further, let's look at customer ID. Customer ID again would be slightly granular, so you can go ahead and ignore this particular chart. Let's now look at sum of sales by year and category. Clearly, you can see there is a red color bar for office supplies and it says minus 15,000. So office sales is office supplies, my apologies. Office supplies is the one category which saw a major dip. The level of dip was minus 15,000. Interestingly, furniture's sales increased by 7,000. If you look at the last variable, it is ship mode. I'll ignore this particular variable. There's one more variable which Power BI is highlighting, and that is the variable state. Clearly, you can see Washington accounted for the majority of decrease among state, offsetting the increase of Arizona. The relative contribution made by Washington, California, and Arizona changed the most. Clearly, Washington, you can see here, this is the bar corresponding to Washington. It saw a major decline to the extent of minus 6.5K. California also saw a dip of minus 3K approximately, and Colorado also saw a dip of approximately $2,000. So what we understand from this analysis is there are certain factors which have contributed to 5.35% decrease in the overall sales between 2014 and 2015 for the Western region. Some of these factors could be cities, customers, state, subcategory, category, and products. You can select a particular chart and click on the plus side. This particular chart will appear in the report canvas. However, I will ignore this particular chart as of now. The purpose of this video was to demonstrate how a ribbon chart works. To summarize the discussion that we've had for a ribbon chart, typically a ribbon chart is used when you have time along the x-axis. A ribbon chart can be used to quickly identify which categorical data had the highest rank or the largest value of sales. Ribbon charts are most effective to show range change, with the highest value always displayed on top for each time period. With this, I have come to the end of today's video. In today's video, we have seen a ribbon chart. We've also seen another interesting option called as analyze and explain the difference that is present in Power BI, which helps us do a deep dive into the data and pull out certain crucial insights which explains the decrease. Just as we explain the decrease, we can also explain the increase for other regions. I request you to subscribe to my channel, also like and share my videos. I thank you very much for watching this particular video. Have a great day ahead.